Next week, I will continue on focus on families for our series. Today, we're taking a break just to honor moms. I'm thankful for Mom and all that she represents and means to us. And as we remember, it's a great thing. You know, what can we say about our moms? Pretty much everything good, nothing bad. There was an 8-year-old named Mary who wrote this little note to her mom on Mother's Day. Here's what it said. Dear Mother, here is a box of candy that I bought for you for Mother's Day. It's very good. I know, because I've already ate 3 pieces. 6-year-old Johnny and his 4-year-old sister Susie presented their mom on Mother's Day. It was a small present. It was just a small, spindly little house plant. While it wasn't the finest looking specimen, they had bought it with their own money, and Mom was thrilled. And she hugged and kissed her children and told them that she loved them for thinking of her. And Johnny says, you know, Mom, there were other flowers that we wanted to buy, but we just didn't have enough money. Yeah, Sister Susie chimed in and said, you know, there was a real bunch of nice flowers that we wanted to get for you while we were shopping. Mom said, well, I love this plant, and I'm happy for it. And one of the kids said, well, I know, Mom, but these flowers would have just been perfect for you. They were in a wreath, and they had a ribbon on it that said, rest in peace on it, and you're always asking for a little peace so that you can rest. There's a school teacher. She taught a bunch of second graders, and one day she taught them about the magnet and what it does. The next day, the teacher asked her students on a question for a test and said, all right, my name has 6 letters. The first one begins with M. I pick things up. What am I? To her amazement, when she picked up the test papers, the teacher was surprised to find that 50% of her students answered the question, Mother. Mothers do pick up things. Yes, they do pick up after their children, and I do believe that sometimes they pick up after their husbands as well. Mothers do more than just picking up magnets and picking up around things of the house. They do so many different things. And I want to read a portion of Scripture as our text from Proverbs 31. Proverbs 31. Listen to these words. A wife of noble character who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. She is like the merchant ships bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it is still dark. She provides food for her family and portions for her servant girls. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her task. She sees that her trading is profitable, and her lamp does not go out at night. In her hand she holds the distaff and grasps the spindle with her fingers. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. She makes coverings for her bed. She is clothed in fine linen and purple. Her husband is respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies the merchants with sashes. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the household, watches over the affairs of her household, and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed. Also, and he praises her. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting. but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Give her the reward she has earned, and let her works bring her praise at the city gate. These are things that moms do and that moms are, and today is all about honoring mothers. Thankful for our mothers. Here's 3 things I want to point out when we are thinking about honoring our mothers. And the first one is her hands work. Her hands work. Think of all the things your mother did for you. There were things you didn't even know. I mean, she worked so tirelessly and at all the time. All the time Mom was working for us. There was a boy. He got his first job. And he was boasting about the amount of work that he did. And he said, I get up at 5 a.m. and I have breakfast. And he was asked, well, does anyone get up with you? He says, oh yeah, Mom gets up and she fixes my breakfast. And then she fixes Dad's as well. Well, what about your dinner? The boy says, well, Mom fixed that too. Well, does your mom have the afternoon then to herself? Oh no, he says. Mama cleans the house, she looks after the other kids, and then she's working on supper for me and Dad when we come home, and we'll hang out and watch TV before we go to bed. Well, what about your mom? What does she do? The boy says, well, Mama washes some clothes and then she irons the rest of the night. Well, do you get paid? Well, of course, Dad and I get paid. Well, what about your mother? Does she get paid too? The boy said, Mom, get paid? Mom don't get paid. She don't do no work. Now, if anybody believes that Mom doesn't work, I would suggest this. All right? Probably not better to say anything. Moms work extremely hard. You can see that moms do all kinds of work. How many sewers do we have? Moms, you like to sew? All right? We've got a lot of sewers. You can see in our text, I'm going to read these verses again real quick. It says, she provides food for, it says here in verse 13, if I can see, she selects wool and flax. Okay? She sews. And in verse 19 it says, in her hand she holds the distaff and grasps the spindle. The spindle is the old time thing. She works with her fingers. And in verse 22, she makes coverings for her bed. Reva, you make quilts, don't you? She works hard with making things like that. She sews. She works with her hands. How many moms do the shopping? You wouldn't want your husband to do it, would you? The moms do the shopping. In verse 14, it says she brings her food from afar, whether that's Kroger or Marsh or other places, Walmart. She does the shopping. She does the cooking. All the moms do the cooking around here? How many of the guys do the cooking? All right? If I cooked around my house, I would be in trouble. But it says in verse 15, she provides the food for the family. It's funny there, but if my dad and mom, if Mom goes away for a couple days to go see my brother in Kansas City, Mom always makes leftovers because he can go to the microwave, my dad, and punch it in. If there's no food around, Dad's going to go out and eat because I don't think he knows how to turn the pan on. You know, he doesn't know how to cook. She gardens. We got any gardeners out there? Love to garden? All right. It says she plants in verse 16, she plants a vineyard. And it also says in the first part of verse 15 that she gets up while it's still dark to what? To prepare food. Remember the first time my wife got up early in the morning? It was our honeymoon. My wife got up and she cooked me breakfast. I mean, I had bacon and eggs and toast. And guess what? That was the only time. That was the last time, seriously. It's cereal or whatever, you fend yourself. Thank you, honey, I'm so glad you did. She fixed it. But she got up to do that. Verse 18 says, her lamp does not go out at night. Think about it when you're sick. Who was up with you? It was Mom. You know, Mom was up. Mom was there to help you. What's the old saying? Man works from sun to sun, but a woman's work is never done. Verse 27 says she watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. That means Mom isn't late. She works hard. Here's a reading. It's called Mama's Mama. Mama's Mama on a winter's day milked the cows and fed them hay, slaughtered the hogs, saddled the mule, and got the children off to school. Did a washing, mopped the floors, washed the windows, and did some chores. Cooked a dish of home-dried fruit, pressed her husband's Sunday suit, swept the parlor, made the bed, baked a dozen loaves of bread, split some firewood and lugged it in, enough to fill the kitchen bin. Cleaned the lamps and put in oil, stewed some apples and that she thought might spoil, churned the butter, baked a cake. They exclaimed, "For mercy's sake, the calves out of the pen," went out and chased them in, gathered the eggs and locked the stables, returned to the house to set the table, cooked a supper that was delicious, and afterwards washed all the dishes, fed the cat, sprinkled the clothes, mended a full basket of hose. Then opened the organ and began to play when you come to the end of a perfect day. God bless you, moms, for working so hard for her family. Her hands work. She's at work all the time. The next thing I want to point out is simply this, that her mouth speaks. I can think of times where I'm so thankful that Mom told me what to do. I needed her instruction. I needed her wisdoms. That's what moms do. You're the mom. Moms, her mouth speaks. Watch this video. I'm the mom.
What I have done is I have figured out what a mom would say in a 24-hour period, and I have condensed it to 2 minutes and 55 seconds. So strap on your seatbelt. Here we go. Get up out of bed, brush your face, brush your teeth, comb your sleepy head, use your clothes and your shades, do the words I said. Get up now, get up and make your bed. Are you hot, are you cold, are you wearing that? Where's your box and your lunch and your homework? And grab your coat and your gloves and your scarf and hat. Don't forget, you gotta feed the cat, you should break the eggs for the cell. It's the most important meal of all. Take a ride and make some people grow up one day to be the top. You never know what the dawn is, you'll be seeing you right when you go. Forget your piano lessons this afternoon, so you must play, don't shovel. She's lovely, but hurry, the bus is here, be careful, come back here. Did you wash behind your ears? Play outside, don't leave refuge, just play fair, be polite, make a friend, don't forget to share, work it out, wait your turn, never take it there, get along. So maybe come down there, clean the room, put your clothes and your stuff away, make a bed, do it now, we have all day. Were you born in a barn? Would you like some hay? Can you read in your heart? I say, don't sit so close, turn it down, no texting at the table. No, your time tonight, your iPod, my iPod, if you don't listen up. Where you going and what you and what time do you think you're coming home? Say thank you, please excuse me, makes you welcome everywhere you look. Appreciate my wisdom, something when you're older and you're grown. Can't wait to have a couple little children of your own. You'll thank me for the counsel I gave you so willingly, but right now I thank you not to roll your eyes at me, close your mouth when you chew. Appreciate, take a bite, maybe two of the stuff you hate. Use a fork, do not murder, I'll set you straight. Eat the food I put on your plate, get an egg with a door, come smart with me, get a break, get a here on down to three, get a job, you like it, PhD, get a dose. You're grounded until you're 36. Get your story straight and tell the truth for once, for heaven's sake. If all your friends jumped off a cliff, would you jump to? If I said, it's the time before that you're too old to act this way. It must be your body's DNA. Look at me now, I'm talking, stand up straighter when you walk up the place. For every day and every day must be in place. Stop crying or I'll give you something real to cry about. PJ's on your neck, it helps in prayer with mom. Don't forget, I love you.
Remember all those things your mom told you. She speaks, verse 26 says, she speaks with wisdom and faithful instruction. is on the tongue. When preacher John Wesley was a student at Oxford University, he was shocked by how many students were drinking alcohol. Wonder what he would think today of those college students today. But after writing his mom, Susanna Wesley said this with her counsel. She says, "My dear son, remember that anything which increases the authority over the body, over the mind, is an evil thing." She gave wisdom, and I'm sure that she gave a lot of wisdom, and our moms have given us wisdom. It was preacher Campbell Morgan had 4 sons, and they were all pastors. And at a family reunion, one of the persons asked one of the sons, said, "Which Morgan is the greatest preacher?" And while the son looked at his father, he replied, "Mother." Moms are good preachers. Mothers do a lot of preaching to their children. It may not be a sermon, and you may not consider it preaching, but their instruction and their wisdom is vitally important in our lives. It was Ron Dirge of Lake Egypt, Illinois. He said this of his mother. He says, "My mother is Ruth Dirge of Chester. She's 93 years old, mentally sharp as she has ever been." He says, if we had a class at school that taught how to be a parent, he says, I would nominate my mother to teach the class. He says, she is always there for me, always been there for my sister in both good times and bad times, in the thick and thin. She doesn't hesitate to advise us, and her thoughts are always on target. Rarely do I find myself not agreeing with her suggestions, but always hold her words of wisdom in high regard. Remember, she speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. Thanks, Mom, for speaking those words of wisdom. And here's the third thing. Her heart loves. From verses 11 and 12 says, "Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life." If a husband has full or complete confidence in his wife, then you know that she is a woman who loves her man. There was a grandmother who was taking care of her granddaughter and putting her to bed and saying goodnight to this little girl. And she says, Grandma says, "Mom and Daddy are entertaining some very important guests tonight downstairs." She says, "Well, you're right. How did you know that?" "Grandma, just listen. Mommy is laughing at every one of Daddy's jokes." I hope that there is laughter in your home, because it's like good medicine. Proverbs 17:22 says, "A cheerful heart is good medicine." Take times to laugh. And in that laughter shows that we're just having a great time as family and having a good laugh together. There was a teacher at school that put this little question to little James on a math class, kind of a quiz. It said, "James, suppose that your mother baked a cherry pie, and say that there were mom and dad and there were 8 children, there's 10 in your family. How much pie would you get?" James says, "Well, I'd get a 9. I said, No. Pay attention, James. There's mom and dad and there's 8 kids. There's 8 children." And she says, "Don't you know your fractions?" He says, "Yes, ma'am." He says, "I know my fractions, but I know my mom better. She'd say that she didn't want any pie." How many times was Mom unselfish? Because she'd rather you have than her. Because she had a heart of love for her family. And we can all remember the unselfish acts of devotions that our moms made in our homes. She worked with her hands tirelessly. She spoke from her mouth the words of wisdom and instruction, and her heart loves like only a mom can. See, mothers are blowers of noses and washers of ears, smoothers of bumped spots and wipers of tears, scrubbers of dishes and welders of mops, grandmas for dollies and winders of tops, bathers for babies and umpires of spats, finders of boots, mittens, and hats, helpers with lessons, makers of beds, shakers of dust cloths, and combers of heads, button sew-oners and winders of clocks, menders of dresses and darners of socks, tellers of stories, readers of books, judges and juries and conduct and looks, doctors for heartaches and hearers of prayers, generals directing all the family's affairs, tenders of home fires and builders of men. Oh, for the gift of an adequate pen. I would have to say that there is no adequate words. There's no adequate pen to express how much you and I owe to our mothers for all of their hard work, their good words, and their loving deeds. God bless every mother who is here today. God bless the rich you all. Richly bless you. Let me just say this in closing. If there was one thing that I believe that my mom, your mom would want, especially a believing mom, that she would want all her kids to know the Lord and to follow Him faithfully, with full faith. I am so thankful that Mom prayed for me over the years. And I believe that it was my mom's prayers and my mom's unconditional love and instruction that when it came time and a decision for me to follow Christ, it was a love of a mom and a love of a dad. And I'm so thankful for Mom's love and prayers throughout the years. And I would say this in closing: what a better day if you have never accepted Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior. Maybe Mom's not here. Maybe you know that's what Mom would want. But I would encourage you today to take a step of faith and make it on this Mother's Day to honor your mom. Say, you know, I'm ready to step across that line of faith, to choose Jesus as my personal Lord and Savior, because I know that's what Mom would want for me. And if you've never made that decision, I encourage you to come. Receive Christ into your life. Make your mom experience one of the greatest Mother's Day ever. Let's stand and sing this closing song, number 500. Let's sing the first and second, for the first verse and the second verse at the